Village of Weston and Joint Town and Village of Weston ETZ Committee to order for Monday, May 12th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Plan Commission, Cronin,
Here.
Zagami is excused, Deason,
I have not heard from him.
Gerndt,
Here.
Hoffman,
Here.
and then Jordan,
Here.
Humber.
Here.
And then ETZ Committee.
ETZ is, we got Cronin,
Here.
Phelps,
Here.
Christensen,
Here.
Gerndt.
Here.
Hull, are you online? I'm guessing he's excused then. He wasn't sure if he was gonna be here. Mumper,
Here.
All right, agenda item number 2, discussion and action on selecting an ETZ chair and vice chair. This is for the ETZ only.
Okay, so we have Dave Phelps, who is a newest member from the town of Weston. He is the new town chair, replaces Milt Olson, who was our vice chair on the ETZ committee. So I thought we would just put this on for discussion. Not sure if Dave was comfortable being the chair right off the bat or if he wanted to be vice chair, but we typically have had someone from the village and someone from the town as the two vice chair and chair.
Anyone want to take a stab or want to talk about it?
I probably looked to Randy first. What are your thoughts?
We were talking about Dave. Yeah. Just keep talking about him.
I cut it instead of.
Who was vice chair
Here,
before?
got it here.
I think, was I the chair?
You were the vice chair, I thought.
Was Milt the chair?
Milt was the chair and then you were the vice chair. And I know sometimes it gets a little messed up when we're doing these joint hearings on who's supposed to chair and that kind of thing. So
Right.
so yes, you were, so the ETZ committee members are Cronin, Phelps, Christensen, Gerndt, Hull, and Mumper.
Steve, do you want to still continue to be vice chair?
I can continue being chair if you would like me to, because I have to run the rest of the meeting anyways, so.
I'd like to have that happen
Okay.
because I'm new to this, so I'd like to see how it's done.
Okay, would you like to be vice chair then?
I'll be
Okay,
vice chair.
so someone's got to take a stab at that motion.
I'll make a motion to make you chair, Steve Cronin chair, and vice chair to be Dave Phelps.
I'll second.
Probably have them as separate motions, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion to have Steve Cronin as the chair for ETZ.
Second.
so we have a motion by Gerndt, second by Mumper. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Now for vice chair.
Yeah, Dave Phelps be vice chair.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mumper, seconded by Gerndt. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, item number 3. Open public comment period for items that do not appear on this agenda noted as public hearings. So I know we've got quite a full house here tonight, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different public hearings on here. So if you want to speak on those items specifically, we'll allow some time to speak at those items. If you want to speak on something besides those 4, now would be the opportunity. Anybody online?
We have several people online. I do know that there's at least one comment in the public hearing, but if there's anyone online that would like to speak on an item that's not a public hearing, now would be the opportunity.
Third time, anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment on one of the items that is not a public hearing? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 4, written communications, disclosures, and recusals. Members of the body should make any required disclosures or recusals during this time.
I just have to do recusal on our subject.
For item number
11?
11?
No, it's,
Okay. We'll just have you sit in the audience then when that comes up. Thanks, Gary. Item number 5, minutes from the April 14th, 2025 Plan Commission meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Jordan, second by Mumper. On the question. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Number 6, minutes from February 10th, 2025 ETZ committee meeting. This is for ETZ only.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Christensen, second by Gurnt. On the question. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Item number 7, public hearing, project number 2025-0154. Rezone a 27.8220 acre property located directly east of 163905 River Road from AR agricultural and residential to RR2 rural residential 2 acre. Pin number 082-2808-134-0971. Higginbotham flood. This is for ETZ only. I'll open the public hearing. Presentation by applicant or the staff.
Present.
Just make sure you state your name. We all know who you are, but just make sure you state your name and address.
Dan Higginbotham, 2625 Northwestern Avenue, Wausau.
Thank you, Dan.
What, I'm representing Alan and Rachel Flood, on the parcel you had described. What they're looking to do is they're going to be building a house on the west end of this parcel. And they, just for bank purposes and for their purpose, they need to create a smaller parcel than the overall parcel in order to build. And what makes the most sense for them, and you can't see it on this photo, but there's about at the apex of the curve or the nadir of the curve there, we'd like to create a little bit less than a 5 acre parcel because there's kind of a valley between the most westerly parcel and the rest of the property, a little drainage swale through there. So it's kind of the natural location to create a parcel, which is less than 5 acres. We're not planning, or Alan at this point is not planning on creating any of the parcels to the east of the westerly parcel. He just is looking at, he's doing a what if at some point in the future they have a financial need to sell a piece of land besides what they're building on. They would want to sell the parcel in somewhat like this. It'd be a little bit less than 5 acre parcels. So we're requesting a rezoning from the AR to RR2. And if you look across, if you're directly south of the river, which is not shown on this map, that's the Peninsula Lane. There are 20 to 40,000 square foot lots over there, half acre unsewered lots. And and then directly east of that subdivision is the Arrowhead Estates, which is the 2 to 3 over 1.5 to 3 acre parcels. So it's not, this is not an unusual request for its location.
Anything else you'd like to add right away, Dan?
No, sir.
All righty, thank you. Jen, anything you'd like to add?
We can probably take testimony and then, or I can go through,
Do public comment first, but
yeah.
okay. I just wanted to make sure before I move on to public comment.
Yeah, really, there's just in the packet, I did go through, it is consistent with the comprehensive plan in that area. It can kind of go either way. At one point when we were looking at this, we thought maybe sewer and water would be extended across. That's not the case. That's not going to be happening anytime soon. So the comprehensive plan map would allow for the rezone to the RR2 if the ETZ committee believes this to be the best future use of the property.
All right, thank you. Public comment. Is there anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment on this specific agenda item? Second time, anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment? Third time, any comments? Hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing. I assume staff recommends approval, correct?
Staff does recommend approval. Starting on page 36 of your packet is that determination to be gone through the 4 questions that need to be gone through by the ETZ committee. I got it same thing, but I might need to change that.
All right, and then discussion and recommendation to the Board of Trustees by the ETZ committee. Anybody got anything they'd like to discuss, or should we go through the determinations?
And then we're just approving the rezone, not the map that's,
No, they didn't submit the map, so
Okay.
it would just be the rezone request at this
Yeah.
time.
all right.
All right, item number 1, is the proposed rezoning consistent with the comprehensive plan as is required by Wisconsin statute?
Yes.
Yes. Number 2, does the rezoning further the purpose and intent of this chapter?
Yes.
Yes. Number 3, does rezoning address any of the following that are not properly addressed on the current official zoning map? A mistake was made in mapping on the official zoning map, that is, an area is or has developed in a manner and purpose different from that for which it is mapped. If the reason is cited, it must be demonstrated that the discussed inconsistency between actual land use and designated zoning is not intended, as the village may intend to stop an undesirable land use pattern from being perpetuated. B, factors have changed, such as the availability of new data, the presence of new roads or other infrastructure, additional development, annexation, or other zoning changes, making the subject property more appropriate for a different zoning district. Or 3, growth patterns or rates have changed, thereby creating the need for a rezone.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. 4, does the proposed zoning district maintain the desired consistency of land uses, land use intensities, and land use impacts as related to the surroundings of the subject property?
Yes.
Yes. I'll entertain a motion if someone would like to make one.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezone.
So we have a motion by Christensen,
Second. You got that? Second.
second by Mumper. On the question. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So carried. Thanks, Stan. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Item number 8, public hearing, project number 2025-0171. Conditional use permit request at 163725 Kirsten Road to allow for the construction of a 1,500 square foot accessory building that is 17 feet tall for personal use within the SFL Single Family Residential Large Lot Zoning District, where the maximum allowed accessory building size within the SFL district is 1,000 square feet and the height 15 feet. This is again for ETZ only. I'll open the public hearing. Presentation by applicant and or the staff.
Yeah, Brian is present here for the meeting. Would you like to go ahead, or you want me to tee it up for you?
Doesn't matter. I can start it. I'm Brian Keel, live at 16725 Person Road. On a shed that is 1,500 square feet, which is stated. The roof pitch is gonna match the house pitch. The siding's gonna match the house siding. The white doors will be the same as the white doors out there. I have implement and other stuff I need to store inside and outside. I like that 1,500 square foot or shed. But they have 8-foot overhang on it also. No holes.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, site plan, everything meets setbacks. Really, the only reason we're bringing it forward is due to it being above the threshold for staff approval on the square footage and the height. He is gonna need a future road access for the garage, as the driveway for his home is on the left side or the west side of the residence, and this will be on the east side of the residence.
I have a permit already for the driveway, and that's it.
So we've got that box checked already. So again, relatively minor, like I said, meets setbacks. He does currently own the adjacent parcel to the east and south of this property in question.
All right, thank you, Roman. Public comment. Is there anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment on this item specifically? Second time, any comments? Third time, any comments? All right, hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Recommendation from staff.
So staff recommends approval with, there are 8 conditions. Many of them are just the normal ones that we have in a conditional use permit. One of them was the driveway permit being applied for, so he's already taken care of that. I don't know if there's any other items that the ETZ wishes to place on the CUP approval. Staff did come up with those 8, one of them being Exhibit A, which will be basically the plans that he submitted. So staff is recommending approval with those 8 conditions. There is a draft of the conditional use permit in the packet. And the determination form is something that you will need to go through too. There's 5 questions there. Start on page 45.
Discussion and action by the ETZ committee. Anybody got any questions?
My only question is this due to the size of ag equipment getting larger and larger? And my only question was, is this something that we should look at for ETZ and allowing something larger so that we don't necessarily
We've
need a conditional
already,
use?
just because you guys have seen, we've seen an uptick in everyone wanting larger garages just in general everywhere. So we met last month with Mark Roffers on a couple different zoning code possible changes that we'll be bringing forward to you. And one of them is garages, just because it seems like in every district, they're just like, I think, what is it, 800 in the
800
single family?
small.
And we're getting all kinds of 1,000 square foot ones.
We'll see another one next month already.
That's
Exactly.
my question.
And that's when-
question. Yeah.
Yes, we should start looking at the code when we're starting to see more of that. So we already kind of flagged that along with some other things that we're going to bring forward to you.
Yeah, I thought to myself, especially in the ETZ area, I thought, boy,
Yeah,
it's
it's just hard because some of these lots there's such a difference in the size of them, especially like with a single family large lot. A lot of them are a lot bigger than the minimum.
yeah, because I appreciate you doing the work to go through this, but maybe it would be better if we didn't.
Yeah, so we recognize that already.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Not, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, actually, I take that back. Termination, yep, my apologies. All right, item number 1, is the proposed conditional use consistent with the comprehensive plan, this chapter, and all other plans, programs, and ordinances adopted by the village and ETZ committee?
Yes.
2, the proposed conditional use in its proposed location and as depicted on the required site plan will not result in a substantial or undue adverse impact on nearby property, the character of the neighborhood, environmental factors, traffic factors, parking, public improvements, public property or rights of way, or other matters affecting the public health, safety, or general welfare, either as they now exist or as they may in the future be developed as a result of the implementation of the provisions of this chapter, the comprehensive plan, or all other plans, programs, and ordinances adopted by the village.
Yes.
Yes.
3, does the proposed conditional use maintain the desired consistency of land uses, land use intensities, and land use impacts as related to the environs of the subject property?
Yes.
Number 4, is the proposed conditional use located in an area that will be adequately served by and will not impose an undue burden on any of the improvements, facilities, utilities, or services provided by public agencies serving the subject property?
Yes.
Number 5, do the potential public benefits of the proposed conditional use outweigh potential adverse impacts of the proposed conditional use after taking into consideration the applicant's proposal and any requirements recommended by the applicant to ameliorate such impacts?
Yes.
All right, now I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Gurnt, seconded by Phelps on the question. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time to come in. All right, so number 9, this is again just for ETD. I have announcements and committee remarks. So, Randy, you have anything?
Nothing.
Dave? No?
Nothing.
Barry?
No.
Roy? Joe? No? Okay. So nothing there. I don't have anything except welcome aboard, David.
Thank you.
Happy to have you. Item number 10, adjourn extraterritorial zoning committee.
Second.
So we have a motion by Gurnt, second by Mumper. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You guys can stick that. One.
Mr. Chairman, could
Yes.
you bump number 12 up ahead of 11, just out of respect for the owner, so he doesn't have to sit here and wait.
I think if the rest of the PC would like to do that, I'm fine with it. All right, so we'll move down to number 12 real quick and get that out of the way, because I think number 11 is gonna go a little bit longer. So number 12, project number 2025-0152. Conditional use permit request at 5600 and 5602 Municipal Street to allow for an indoor sales and service and outdoor display land uses on property zoned LI Limited Industrial and WHPA Wellhead Protection Zone A Overlay District, Penrose. Open the public hearing for Weston Plan Commission and Marathon County CPZ.
This one.
No, that's on the next one.
Oh, next.
So did you, is that supposed to be in here?
No, it's not. It's just the plan commission. Sorry.
My apologies. So this is just for Weston Plan Commission, correct? Okay. So presentation by applicant and or staff. And I guess we're not Marathon County either, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Marathon County is for number 11. All right, so Mr. Penrose is currently operating at 2915 Schofield Avenue and has since June of 2023. He recently approached staff concerning moving the business to the former Norcon property, which is back behind on Municipal Street. So his uses do require a conditional use permit in that zoning district, the LI Light Industrial. So that is why he is here. I do have the conditional use permit performance standards. I kind of went through that. He is meeting all of the requirements of both districts there. You can see that on page 1 and 2, which was the
273.
273 and 274. So he meets both, meets all the performance standards for both of the land uses that he would be put under. There is the determination to go through again. I've got a little bit of background information on that property. There are 2 existing buildings. It's basically a gravel parking lot back there. It is fenced in. The trail, it's kind of right next to the trailhead for the Mountain Bay Trail there, kind of goes along there. So he would have the trailers that he would be selling parked in the back. Right now, he would only be utilizing one of the buildings, so there may be a future tenant at a later date that would go through zoning at the time that he would lease it out. So I do have some conditions that we listed for the conditional use permit. Basically, there's 4. Wasn't a whole lot to attach to it because he met. The biggest thing is just that he's in what would normally be an industrial area, so that's why the requirement.
okay. All right, anything else? It's Jesse here. Oh, okay. All right, so we have that. Public comment. Is there anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment on this specific agenda item? Second time, any comments? Third time, any comments on project number 20250152? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Recommendation from staff.
Staff recommends approval with the 4 added conditions.
Okay, and discussion and action by the plan commission.
I think we gotta go to the
Determination.
first.
Okay. Item number 1, is the proposed conditional use consistent with the comprehensive plan, this chapter, and all other plans, programs, and ordinances adopted by the village?
Yes.
Yes.
2, the proposed conditional use in its proposed location and as depicted on the required site plan will not result in a substantial or undue adverse impact on nearby property, the character of the neighborhood, environmental factors, traffic factors, parking, public improvements, public property or rights of way, or other matters affecting the public health, safety, or general welfare, either as they now exist or as they may in the future be developed as a result of the implementation of the provisions of this chapter, the comprehensive plan, or all other plans, programs, and ordinances adopted by the village.
Yes.
Does the proposed conditional use maintain the desired consistency of land uses, land use intensities, and land use impacts as related to parcels adjacent to the subject property?
Yes.
Yes.
Is the proposed conditional use located in an area that will be adequately served by and will not impose an undue burden on any of the improvements, facilities, utilities, or services provided by public agencies serving the subject property?
Yes.
Yes.
Do the potential public benefits of the proposed conditional use outweigh potential adverse impacts of the proposed conditional use after taking into consideration the applicant's proposal and any requirements recommended by the applicant to ameliorate such impacts?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll entertain.
We'll move to approve conditional use permit 2025-152 with the 4 additional conditions set forth by staff as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mumper, seconded by Gurnt on the question. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, now we'll jump back to item number 11.
I gotta recuse myself here.
All right, thank you, Gary. I was just gonna say, do we have a quorum, but Trav's
Travis
online?
online.
Okay.
Online, right, yeah.
Number 11, public hearing, project number 20250142. Conditional use permit request at 7795 Weston Avenue to allow for a non-metallic mineral extraction land use to occur on properties owned AR, agricultural and residential. This is for Siebert, Gurnt, and Vreeland. I'll open the public hearing. Weston Plan Commission and now Marathon County CPZ. And then presentation by applicant and or staff and Marathon County.
Dale, do
Who
you
wants to go?
have to open your hearing?
No, this will suffice.
Okay.
For what I need, Marathon County is here to only, I'm sorry.
Sorry, just state your name and address for the record as well.
Theo Fixon, 1635 Plato Street, Wausau. That's my private address, but I'm here representing Marathon County. I'm the land use analyst there. And my portion of the hearing, I am here just to answer any questions that would pertain specifically to the reclamation of the non-metallic mine site. Anything operational is in your jurisdiction. The reclamation would be mine. So if there are questions, I'd be happy to entertain them if they should arise.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Who'd like to go next?
We did have one comment online. I guess my question would be, I can't identify the individual.
Right now it's presentation by applicant and or staff in Marathon County, so we're not
Okay.
quite at the public comment portion yet. So I guess Jen, I don't know if you or if there's someone else that would like to take the wheel here.
Well, they should probably explain the project. I mean, I do have some questions for the planning commission to go through just based off of what they listed as their operational plan. When you kind of go through the determination, I had kind of put some things in red that were kind of things that I wanted to make sure that the planning commission was okay with. That was what they were saying, like for their hours of operation and that. So what I had done was I had basically taken the non-metallic mineral extraction land use and the performance standards and kind of went through that in the determination and kind of based off of the material that they gave us, I tried to answer those questions and how they were met, or if they weren't, or if there was something, like I said, in red was something that maybe we needed to make sure everybody was okay with, or knew that that was what is going to be. So I guess I'm not exactly sure how you want to handle it.
So Gary, is it you that's gonna present
Yeah,
or?
I think we can all three just come and present as all three to start, points or at different aspects of this. So,
Okay,
we can all figure it out this year. That's fine. Answer any questions or comments or whatever.
Just grab another chair for Dustin.
and if all three of you wouldn't mind just stating your name and address for the record.
Gary Gern, 7306 Caesar Street, Weston, Wisconsin.
Dustin Breland, 6103 Don Street, Weston.
Kurt Seibert, 148-525 Spore Lane in Mosley. So we are proposing to do a 15-acre pond back section of the property.
Excuse me, can you speak up? You are
Well,
kind of
hard to
quiet.
hear you, sorry.
Sorry, there's not a microphone. My voice is a little off here.
Yeah, we can grab you one from the back.
Oh, just any of them?
Yep. Either one should work.
Ooh, this work.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
So we are proposing to do a 15-acre pond in the back section of the upland area of the field, agricultural field along the creek line. Last year we had some, it's very, very flat, and I think the village has done many studies over here as far as the stormwater goes. And we have a problem with obviously with our farm field as well, with getting saturated, and so has the golf course last
You
year.
can press the button on the microphone.
It should be green, shouldn't it? Just
Yeah,
bring it.
it's green.
Just bring it
Closer
closer.
to it. Yeah.
So we're proposing to do the pond and also hopefully help with some of the groundwater issues in the neighboring properties by retaining some of the water in our pond. We worked with Michael a little bit on some of the south side of the highway water concerns or issues with flooding over there on some of the businesses or properties. We haven't really got too far into what our process was, to just try to open up an avenue to have more volume so it doesn't back up so much into the creek. And Michael, I believe you guys were working on some culvert sizing as well off of Shorey Avenue, and have worked with the DNR on some cutting and stuff down the creek line. So anyways, we're proposing to dig a pond, and we want to raise the remaining portion of our field up as well, so it can be farmed, and eventually someday, whenever it is, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it may be, can be developed. But right now we had the farmer that was farming had crop damages again last year because it floods the field out. So we hired Vreeland Associates to do our mapping and our plans, and here we are.
Thank you, Gary. Dustin?
Yeah, what Gary said, I'm here to answer any questions you guys have regarding the plans, permitting, DNR wise, anything like that. Just here to answer any questions you guys got.
All right, Kurt, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Just for clarification, what we're asking for is just the portion of the project. Looking at the map, there's two projects up here, but really we're on the southern half. That shows the three phases of the pond. The stuff on the North 40 is already taken care of. That's going to be a a fill site for the excess material coming off the Weston Avenue project. Which, I think they started this week.
Anything else you'd like to add? Anybody?
Just answer any questions
We're
that come
available
up.
here for any questions or concerns or comments or.
All right, so moving right along here, we're gonna move to public comment. So I don't have any sheets here. Does Valerie, did you get any? No? Okay. So is there anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make a comment on this matter? Show of hands if there's anybody that would. So we have anybody online, Jamie?
There was one individual, again, I can't identify who they are, but they did ask me to share their question. I'm not sure if we can't, do we need to ask them to state their name and address? That would be my question.
I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah, just as if you were in a meeting, so. Okay, could I have the three of you guys just grab a seat for a sec and then, sir, if you want to step up real quick, state your name and address.
Sure, my name is Brian Zinzer. My address is 8502 Heron Street, Weston.
Go ahead, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, and one of the concerns I have is I own the property immediately south of the subject property here, and which is very wet. I've always had problems with that. In fact, Weston had just talked to me recently. I can't remember the gentleman's name, when the engineers came through and we walked through the area there, and they're talking about trying to do some work on the brushing, that sort of thing. The concern I have is if they're digging that, they're gonna dig the pond, there's gonna be a lot of water involved with that, and that's gonna be, that whole area drains down through my property, which is already way too wet. And I've seen times in the past when there's been water way out in my field and all over the place there. Some of that was a result of beaver dams, which I've gotten rid of some of that, but nonetheless, I mean, I don't need any more water downstream from a project like that. At some point, I might be putting building a house out there, and that's one of the concerns I have.
How does the pond going to cause more water to be on your property? I'm not
Well,
understanding.
it's a mining project, correct? They're digging all that material out, at which point if they're digging it out, they're gonna have to move the, I mean, I've looked into this a little bit, and they'd have to pump the water out so they can do some more digging, correct?
So let's finish up public comment and then we're gonna keep this comment going, but you want to bring that up once we get public comments done and we can see how that's gonna be addressed.
Sure.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's the only,
It's Brian, correct?
correct.
Okay.
So
All right.
your main concern, just so we understand, is that what will be the post?
Was during the whole process, all the additional water, if there's any, what additional water is gonna be going downstream, which is gonna be going through my property.
No, I just want to be clear on that.
No, I understand. I'm just,
And your concern.
I understand. That's fine. That's what my concern is.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Well, yep, just give us a little bit here. We'll get back to, we'll get your question answered. Is there still anybody online that has a hand up?
Gentleman in the audience that have a question.
Oh, it's not. Come on up, sir. I apologize. I didn't see your hand back there.
Mark Ainsky, 403 Weston Avenue. So I own the property just to the west of that. And I guess I have a question, and I don't know, I haven't had a chance to talk about it, but I think Brian's asking, are there gonna be dewatering happening at this facility to allow you guys to dig?
Please address your questions to this commission.
So anyway, that's one of my questions. And then also, how long does this permit go for? Is it like 30 years or is it 50 years or what is it?
I think, Jen, is it 30 years? 3 phases over 30 years is what I read.
I thought that's what they said, yes.
Okay. So, yeah, 30 years.
So 30 years.
So just
I
keep-
won't have to worry about it. But anyway, and then my next question is, I don't know the property down there, if it's sandy or if it's rock. And if it is rock and they pull it out, are they gonna be crushing rock?
They said there would be crushing there.
There would be
There won't be
crushing.
any blasting.
Okay, so crushing. And then, so then I would imagine there's hours that they can do this.
Right. That was one of the questions that I had outlined. They have it from 7 AM to 7 PM, Monday through Friday with occasional Saturdays and Sundays. And that was what I had in red to talk with the plan commission on if they were okay with those hours. the 7 to 7 PM tends to fall in line with our construction hours for normal construction throughout the village and residential areas.
And so I guess the permit encompasses the whole 80, right? Or is it just 15 acre?
So it would be basically that, I heard it as the whole property, but basically this, what you're seeing up on page 112 gets attached to it. So they need to stay within this plan.
So it would just be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, correct?
Yes, and then they're doing some in that little area in the like dashed, that's where they talk about bringing up the farm field.
We're also storing some,
They're storing, yes, so there'll be some stockpiles in that like darker shaded area down there. So basically, my understanding from talking to them and reading their report is that they will pull out the material and then it has to dry for some time. It kind of moves through the site. Some of it is going to get trucked off, and that's where the non-metallic mining comes in, because they're basically taking it off-site.
Sure. So I guess my main concern was the water and, you know, the dewatering of the pond. Cause my swamp that is, I shouldn't say mine, my mother's swamp is next to Zinzer's property, and it all funnels through mine and it comes out on Shorey Avenue. And I too farm the fields, and I have issues with water, and I don't need any more water.
Sure.
The culverts down there can't handle what's going on there now. That swamp needs to be dug out and allowed for it to drain. So I guess that's my main concern.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anybody online?
yes,
Anybody with a hand up?
they don't have their hand up, but the individual identified as user, do you want to state your name and address in your question, comment?
I'm gonna say that's a no. All right, so I'll ask again, anybody online or in the audience that wishes to make any further comments on project number 202501442. All right, hearing none. I'm gonna close the public hearing. Recommendation from staff.
Well, I listed a bunch of conditions. So those start.
I saw them in here, but right now too.
Lost it.
This page.
The conditional use permit or before?
No, they're the ones that are outlined in red.
So that starts on page 89.
I'm on the page and I can't figure out where to find the page.
Should be off to the right hand.
Are you talking about just the ones that you had in red, Jen?
Yeah, so what I went through, so just so everyone's clear, a pond is actually a permitted use by right in that district. What kicks into this non-metallic mining, and then the county's reclamation permit is that they're actually going to be taking the product off-site and also doing some of the crushing and that kind of, the act of mining. If they were just building a pond and they weren't gonna take anything off-site, like they were just gonna keep the material there, it could have been done as a permitted use, just with a basic pond permit that we have, but this is a rather large pond. So I did go through the performance standards, which would be mostly the conditions. So we would be attaching their stormwater pollution prevention plan, which includes their civil plan set and all maps. They have already received their NOI permit from the DNR. for their, whatever their permit that they need for the DNR. They received that at the end of last month. Number 3 on there would be the hours of operation, to discuss if the commission is okay with that or wants to make any changes. They are asking for a delay in adding the 100-foot of asphalt until 2026. I just put a date of June 1st of 2026 on there, just so we had something to work with. I don't know if we need to go later on that, but the reasoning behind that was the fact that Weston Avenue right there is going to be under construction the majority of this construction season.
Yeah, just to clarify that, can I clarify that?
Sure.
Yep.
Just a matter of, there's gonna be trucks coming in off of Weston Avenue to fill that first section filled up. So for us to get paving in there this year might be difficult with the trucks coming in and out, because there's like 40,000 yards of material that's kind of brought in there.
Okay,
That's why we're asking to wait.
all right. I assume, Jen, you got the rest of these that are listed in red then too, correct?
Yeah, number 12 is about a security fence. They do not have plans to fence the entire 80, so I did talk with Gary about like at least some type of fencing at the entryway to kind of keep people off from the driveway that they could close. But I'm not sure what the Plan Commission wishes to do with that one. And then we should probably put an expiration date on there.
This is right across
For the
from the
permit?
golf courses.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking some notes here. Okay, so,
Right either side.
so did you have a recommendation or is it based on?
I have all those conditions listed. There's just a
Okay.
couple of them in the red, I guess, or just those points to kind of talk about, just so that everyone
Okay.
is aware that that's what they're planning to do there.
All right, so we'll move into discussion and action by the Plan Commission. So I guess, Trav, are you still with us online?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I just want to make sure we still had quorum before we get into this. Or, where do you guys want to start? Do you want to just take those questions one at a time or?
I guess my biggest concern when I went through this, and it's what I heard exactly what my concern was, is how do we ensure that we're not improving one property to the detriment of the surrounding properties? I mean, I think that's in terms of the water flow, right? I mean, what I'm hearing is their biggest concern is where's the water going? We don't need any, we've got the same problem Gary has. If he makes his better, does that make us worse? If that was the answer, I'd say, I don't think that's fair, right? So how do we assure ourselves of that?
So Gary, are you able to elaborate a little bit more on where that water is going? I mean, if I'm assuming that when you dig a pond, it fills up with water, right? And then you pump it?
So, Michael, I'm not gonna put this off because I don't want anybody just to trust me. I would like Michael to have some input on this as well. Because he had his team go over there and shoot elevations on everything. And they also had some problems or concerns with, I think you guys are aware of what happened at the golf course with the stormwater ponds. So that surface water and the ability for the surface water to drain away. And some of it can be groundwater. Our groundwater by us is 4 to 6 feet, somewhere in that range by the pond we would be digging. So we were looking to add capacity to that. It's a matter of when the rainfall comes. And right now, with what happened with Weston Avenue, they concentrated the rain waters off the roads to go into these detention basins, which were never there before. So now when these detention basins with so much water get filled up, they're a couple feet higher than the golf course, and then it starts spewing through the sand and coming out of the golf course. And or it gets pumped through the swamp and roundabout way through Smith's property where the industrial park is, crosses the road, goes across the golf course, and at times the golf course has to as well pump water down the Bull Junior Creek to get themselves open back up for the portion to be open. So by us doing what we're doing, the pond isn't really gonna affect anything to do with the neighboring properties, and you can fill a site. Because we're filling our site to raise it up. It's gonna cost a lot of money to do that, but that should not cause detriment to our neighbors, neighboring properties from us being in the pond or filling our site up. And Michael, I guess I would ask you to maybe from an unbiased spot, answer that question if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think the biggest question is what do you do if you're gonna be pumping the pond down? Where is that discharge going? How is that gonna be conveyed? So when it is, dry conditions and that water is pumped into the drainage way, where is that going? If I understand correctly.
And I think the concern with that is if we're gonna be doing a bunch of dewatering. Obviously, right now, Bobbles are doing dewatering down at the end of Shorey Avenue. And that can also hold back some water from Brian, your property and or Knightsky's property. And when Michael did some research and his guy shoots some elevations, those are the culverts that they're trying to enlarge so they can take more volume and more capacity. Because when we get a large amount of rain in a short period of time in that area, it can only go down one traffic way through and it's down to Bull Junior. So if you can get it out of there faster, that's what Michael's trying to accomplish, is getting it out of there quicker by bigger culverts. Then it doesn't back up onto the neighboring properties. But the surface water, if we're gonna dewater that pond at this point, we would like to be able to dewater, but we're not gonna be dewatering in the spring of the year to be flooding somebody's property. That's not what our intention is to do. We definitely we would want to be working with Michael, very cognizant of that with how flat it is over there, because back when Zuliger was here, we even tried to work with the stormwater management on that side to the big pond up in the front to try to get some relief for that whole area over there. So we were looking to try to help with this 15-acre pond. So if the water does come from the golf course or comes from over by Smith's, then it could potentially go into ours and keep up the capacity before it spills over. And then by that time, the culverts downstream, your properties downstream would potentially have relief already, because it might be a day or 2 days to alleviate that from happening, because it can go into and fill up our ponds first. But we haven't gotten that far with Michael, but we are very open to cooperate and allow whatever needs to happen to help the area, because we were willing to do that years past.
Yeah, and I know Isaac Dolan with our staff has reached out to you guys as property owners. I think he's walked most of your properties and, trying to understand better where the limitations are, what's causing some of that to back up. And I know some of that has been beaver dams in the past, or it might be an undersized culvert, or just a lack of an actual drainage way, so.
I think that, not to interrupt you, Michael, but I think some of that comes also from years of vegetation, tag alder growth, undergrowth, and it starts to choke off a stream. So we all know that they can't just go rolling through a stream and start digging it out like we all think. Like, it would be great, Mark, if we could do that, but I think, Michael and I have had those conversations as well as the DNR. The DNR doesn't like that, whether it's from the public or from the municipality. They come down pretty hard for digging through a wetland, so that's the biggest concern, is if we can continue to try to keep the creek flowing, and we can mitigate the vegetation growing there. That's why they were cutting as much of the trees, and the DNR was fine with that. So if we can continue to do that and keep the root systems away from trying to close the creek down, it would really help a tremendous amount as well.
Where I've seen problems on my property is not so much backing up from the Bull Junior coming up that way. I've seen a little bit of that, but more so north of my property going up in that swamp, that swampy area, through there going up towards the golf course. That's where it's all back up in there.
Yeah.
I've seen it where you couldn't even walk through with a pair of chest waders.
So I guess I don't still quite understand where the water's going.
That's.
It all wants to go southwest, so it wants to go from,
Can we pull up a map? So that we can.
where's a good page? Well, yeah,
Kind of goes from that pond on the golf course, goes through the swampy area, through my property and down to Parks and then on from there.
Yeah, there's a couple culverts at the end of Shorey Avenue and Ryan Street, or Zinzer, no. Sorry, Shorey, Ryan.
Okay, so what are we is this? the
if you go to
property?
page, which one is that, 118? Yeah, so, I mean, it all essentially stems from kind of just west of Jones Street there towards the east. And then it kind of starts flowing southwest through the two Crane Meadows parcel names, crosses Zinzer Street through that southern red 40, then cuts the corner of the Zinzer property.
Whose properties were the two people that are concerned and
So-
where they have
Brian,
relation?
right to the south of the subject property, Brian's Zinzer, it's me.
Okay. And I'm sorry, sir, where's yours?
And mine is right next.
Right next to it.
South.
The Knightsky
Okay.
one, and then, yeah, south of there, so it kind of cuts diagonally to the southwest until it eventually crosses at Shorey Ave, just east of Ryan Street, so that portion doesn't show up, but
Michael, do you feel if enough of us neighbors got involved and together with a meeting with the village or the staff and the DNR, that they would understand that these are getting flooded and the golf course is getting flooded, and that they would allow some manipulation of the creek or no?
yeah, I know that's what Ike had been in conversations with the DNR, and, you know, there are certain things we can do for drainage ways, so that it's not, you know, it's not necessarily draining a wetland, it's just maintaining a drainage way, so as long as material isn't deposited within the wetland soils and some of that stuff, there is vegetative maintenance and items we can do throughout that drainage way. I mean, over whatever that is, almost a 2 mile stretch, I mean, there's not a lot of drop, so in relative terms, it is flat, so water doesn't move very fast, even if it would be cleaned out, but
Just a quick point of order. I don't mean to, excuse me, we have microphones up in the ceiling back there, and whenever someone talks, every little conversation gets picked up. So for those that are online, it makes it really hard to hear. I apologize, guys. But please try to keep it to a minimum.
So our point is definitely not to impede on somebody else's property. We definitely don't wanna do that, and I think Michael knows that we're trying, I felt terrible for Dan from the golf course as well. We're willing to do whatever we can on our part to help mitigate some of that or give relief for that water over there. So if it can go down at a slower pace or a slower rate, whether we have an orifice on our pond outlet, if we can put a pond outlet in there, that they can hold it back and only drain a certain amount at a longer period of time. That would potentially help. But Michael got very busy. He's got a lot of stuff going on. And I asked him a few times where he got with that, but he's been very busy. So again, we're willing to help in any way we can in the process. But Michael might have a little bit more pull with the DNR than anyone of us.
just following the rules.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Roy?
I think it does. I mean, are you relative, again, when I read this, my biggest concern was you can't help one person to the detriment of someone else, right? I mean, that was my biggest concern. Where does that go?
Yeah, I
right?
mean, to a certain extent, when the pond is pumped down and it rains, that water is gonna have a place to store. I believe, looking at, you know, how the drainage ways goes, so it would reduce the intensity of the flow heading to the neighbors, but then there would be times where it would be historically dry, and if they're pumping, you know, there would be some discharge water, so I mean, I think if done correctly, yes, it can have a positive impact for everybody. Right.
Yeah, when
Dustin.
at a certain point, they're not gonna pump anymore, they're gonna get too deep, so they'll end up start dredging it out, so there won't be any more pumping at a certain point where they'll have to be smooth.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of, I mean, and it is a legally authorized use, which, but I just wanted to, that was my big concern, right? Yeah, I don't want two people leaving here thinking their properties are going to be
Yeah.
negatively affected and one person's positive, right? That was my major concern. And if we feel relatively comfortable as staff that, you know, again, I'm not an expert on water flowage, but I can understand where the issue is, right?
Yeah, I mean, in 2023, the Weston Avenue corridor there was dewatered for the water and sewer installation. And that water was piped down the western ditch line of Zinzer through there. Whoa.
Fell upstairs. Big unit, maybe.
Okay.
When they did that,
There's a room up
They
above.
actually came through and they decorated the people pond over there.
Yeah.
Because it was backed up at that point bad. I had got Weston actually dug it out once before that. And then they came back in and they rebuilt it all. I didn't even know it. And then they contacted me and we walked back in there and they took care of it. So
Yeah, and I think 2019 was the other time I can remember where when the water and sewer went down Zinzer, that also got dewatered and was discharged through there, so there have been times where dewatering activities has taken place, and I guess I'm not sure what the overall impact was to those 3 adjacent properties.
Am I able to ask a question or is it closed?
Would we look to hear another question or? Technically, it's plan commission right now.
Yeah, I'd like to, yeah, well, I don't know if you want me to ask other questions or wait. My other question was, for hours of operation, I know we went through this with Mitch and his operation and doing crushing. And I don't know what hours we put on that conditional use permit, and I don't know if I can ask this question right now and have you pull the answer out of the air. But I know we had hours of operation concern, if I remember right, on that, and that was a conditional use permit of also crushing, correct?
Gary, are you gonna be crushing out there?
Only material that we wanna move on, we have sand and material over by us, by our shop that we will be spreading out and spreading the final grading out, but we needed some more material over there to fill that back parking area, but eventually we would like to have concrete and asphalt over there, and then we would probably crush once or twice a year. And it would be probably no different than the hours of operation that the village crushes across the road from us. And I don't know when we proposed addition for like Saturdays and Sundays, if you're thinking of trying to crush on a Saturday or Sunday, but I don't think we're doing that, are we? Typically not. It's usually Monday through Friday for crushing. And when we
I just wanted to, if possible, be consistent with past conditional use permits on the exact same topic.
So Mitch's is, let's see, crushing activities shall be conducted in the area 150 feet south of the northern parcel boundary, which is adjacent to 6155 Mesker Street, as approximately shown in Exhibit B. All crushing or material processing activities shall occur between October 1st and May 1st, and between 7 and 1700 hours.
7 and 5.
Is that sufficient to mimic that?
Yeah, I think that would be.
Okay, and are there any noise concerns for either of the two property owners to the south in regards to noise or hours of operation, or is that sound reasonable? I would prefer to be consistent with past conditional use permits. I mean, when I read that, I said, we've been down this road before. You know,
So I guess maybe that's where we need to clarify that, Roy, would be as operations, like if we bring a truck in during construction hours to dump loaded material off, 7 to 7 operation, or Saturday or Sunday, if you have an emergency job, like sometimes we'll do a water main break or something like that, that we may have to dump the load. Most of the time, if it's in Weston, it goes to your own yard. But the crushing
I
is,
think the crushing was a concern, not the dumping. The crushing is, and that gets pretty loud, right? I mean, I know that.
well, it's actually, to be honest with you, it's no different than listening to somebody's lawnmower. The decibels, I mean,
I can kind of speak to that if there's a question as far as the sound with crushing. We did quite a few studies for some of the other municipalities regarding some of those situations. If there was a question on that, I'd be happy to talk about our experience with it.
I don't think there's a lot of noise concerns on this one, but I would like to be consistent with what we've done
Yeah.
previously. And the other question I had is just that the on-site fuel storage, you're not actually gonna store fuel on site, are you, in a permanent? I mean,
No.
that's got ridiculous with the
No, so-
DNR and the requirements,
so the,
right?
on the DNR permit that we had sent through, it has a 500-gallon portable tank. It's basically on a trailer with wheels.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
portable.
Portable,
So
right.
when Kurt had responded back to Jen, there was a little misunderstanding because I think it generally had something like, I don't know, was it volume pumping or I can't remember what it was.
It was bulk fueling and I guess.
Right. Yeah, okay, you're just gonna have a portable tank like you'd have on a pickup truck or a trailer you're
And
talking or
usually
whatever, yeah.
what we'll have is, we have a lot of stuff out there, we'll just have, like, they used to be research, but they'll come in and just fuel everything.
Everything up, yep.
And they're out of there.
Okay. Yeah, that was gonna be one of my questions too, was the fuel. So you won't have bulk fuel sites or a bulk fuel site down there. Okay.
I'll just say, me personally, I'm not worried about the fencing. I mean, if you wanna fall in a pond, you can go to the golf course across this road and there's 3 or 4 of them, right? You could fall in, right? I mean, I don't know. I didn't have any concern about the fencing.
Great. Jen, does it need to be fenced?
Yeah,
Or
that's
do we
just-
need to just be able to have a way to fence off the road going in and out of there?
We had talked about just the fencing for the road, like as security, and they do have some, like, I don't know, it's hard to fence the whole site.
I think like I said, if there's across the road, there's ponds, right? And we're not worried about that. So there's no fencing around those.
So I have another question. Jen, item S. You said there's a $1 million insurance policy per occurrence. Does that apply just to people? Does that apply just to people on site? Or would that be to adjacent properties if there was ever an incident?
That I'm not really sure. I think it's just on site. It's a liability for. Oh, we can look into that.
When you say apply, what to?
You know, like, so again, to your question about the water, and I'm not, I just have to ask. I mean, if something were to happen and this were to cause adverse impact on somebody else's property, how would that look?
We, along with the requirements of the $1 million, we have a $15 million umbrella.
Okay.
Do we want to put something in that's?
What have you done in the past?
That's a good point.
This is the first time this one's been used since it went into effect in 2015. The other ones were all done under different, we haven't had a mine go in. Oh, it might have been your other one. You could look.
I don't remember what we did.
While you look, Roman, we have all the windows upstairs yet, right? Good on that? Okay.
Nothing's on fire.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, what are your thoughts?
The only, having experienced this, and watched the excavation and what happens with the groundwater. The reality is, once you get past spring and you start digging, if anything, it's gonna make the situation better until you have that significant rain event. In our case, the river came up and the river got into pond. You know, but you're not gonna experience any of those sorts of issues, so I don't see how digging it is going to do anything other than long-term help. Not saying that there isn't some act of God that would have a negative impact. And the crushing issue with the noise, again, this being as remote as it is, I don't see that being a significant issue, but to your sense, to be consistent in the event that somebody else comes along and does want to do that closer to a residential area, that would make sense to me. So I think that that's a good idea. And as far as access, what I found was that at our property, the gate that was at the road really precluded most any tourists from coming in to see what exactly was going on back there, you know, so to gate it, you know, far enough back from the property so that you guys have room to drive up to it.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me, and then just deny access to people that just wanna come in and wander around to see what's going on. So and I think long-term, it's gonna help the situation in the neighborhood there as far as trying to dry that out. I think this can have a positive impact.
Michael, say you were working with the DNR to figure out how we could open up some waterways through. Is it just a swamp down there, or is it the Bull Junior Creek that would need to be opened up?
It's no, it's this drainage way that's, I guess, an unnamed tributary. You know, it's an intermittent stream that opens up at times and then it closes off and kind of meanders through. So there's requirements that you can follow to make sure you can maintain a drainage way without, you know, wetland fill and some of those items. So yeah, I guess we have been in discussion with the DNR on what's allowed, what's not allowed, and how can we help move water through? And, you know, the beavers generally are one of our main culprits that we find. But then, you know, if we're not out there watching them all the time, you know, once they do back up water, you know, that's where sediment and everything else starts to fall out and can cause other maintenance issues so I think trying to prioritize that and make sure we are staying up on walking or checking the drainage way, you know, start to finish, you know, on a regular basis is probably a good starting point, making sure we're getting rid of any beaver dams or other items that are naturally kind of falling in that drainage way. But so we did do some brushing last year, try to make sure none of the larger woody vegetation is taking hold. And then I guess if, you know, kind of understanding what we can do for upsizing culverts at Shorey Ave. If you've been around long enough, there's been times where we've had to close off Shorey Avenue just because that did flood over. It's probably been about 10 to 12 years since the Bull Junior Creek got to a point where it just couldn't receive any more water. But for the most part, the Bull Junior can handle the additional water flow to it from where we're at, so.
So you have at this point, you don't have any worries about the water?
As long as
pumped out of the pond?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, like I said, the pond will help, or it should help during, you know, certain rain events where it does add extra storage capacity, so it would reduce the amount of water flowing downstream. And then, you know, if we can work together with the property owners on maintaining that drainage way through their properties, I think we can make sure that any additional pumped water throughout the non-natural events is contained in a spot that is not detrimental.
Can you ask questions of the other property owners at this point?
Technically, we're not supposed to, but I think we would be, I mean, if the rest of the commission is okay with it, I guess I'm okay with it. As long as it doesn't turn into a back and forth, like.
I don't want to ask too much. I just want to, after hearing what we've talked about in terms of drainage and our concerns so far, are both of you somewhat alleviated on those concerns? Are you, I just wanted to get a sense, like, are we, I'm feeling reasonably comfortable that you're not going to be flooded out and there's going to be some attempts made and they may actually make it better for you. But I want to know, I guess I'd like to know what your thoughts are. You came here with a concern. I'd like to know what your thought is now.
Brian, if you want to go first.
Yeah, well, it sounds somewhat better. I'd like to find out if, Michael and what he finds out with the DNR and see what kind of things can be done to mitigate the situation, but, that's really my only concern is, and, we can work together on that might be okay, but again, I just don't need any more water, because I have a field there too that gets farmed, and I don't want any more water in there. So
No, we understand that. I want to know if you're feeling better or.
somewhat better than I was initially, but yeah.
Okay, and.
Knightskis.
Yeah, if it helps, I'm good with that. But if it doesn't, then I'm not gonna be good with it. Right? It's just that part of it.
It's that simple, right?
It is
that simple.
I mean, I gotta take your guys' word for it that you're gonna make it better. I just don't want any more water.
Right.
It really floods there's several acres that's flooded. And not saying that when they pump in the middle of summer when it's dry, it's gonna matter. But when you're pumping and all of a sudden it rains, the culverts can't handle it, it backs up, my fields flood, so that's what I'm concerned about.
No, I share your concern, and that's why I wanted to, I felt like that was the biggest issue here. One other question for Gary, does this make this?
I don't want to interrupt, but we also have, I'm sorry, sir, I forgot. Dan, that's
I'm sorry,
right,
yeah.
from the golf course. So did you want to give your input on that as well?
Kind of moved on from what I was going to ask. 6304 Weston Ave. I live here.
Thank you.
I'm thinking,
I should have asked.
I guess my question was gonna be, if he's pumping in dry conditions, at what rate? And won't that help when the rain comes? I guess to me, it seems like I'm at a different end than, my two neighbors here. It's kind of sounds like it's a win for me, so I didn't, but I was just wondering, when in dry conditions, at what rate are you pumping? I mean, like, is it gonna be enough to flood a land? I don't.
I guess I don't know comparative to the low flow volume of the creek now and how that would compare to what we would put in it, but it would be a fraction of what that would be at low flow, right?
I was gonna say, you can only pump so much.
Do you guys remember when we watering from some water could affect your, well, that's the field?
I guess I can't remember if it was drought. Yeah, or if it was wet.
So Dan, you're comfortable?
Oh, yeah, I think it's gonna help, actually. I mean, I'm all for helping water off the boat.
Perfect.
Gary, to your point.
So you had another question that you wanted to ask?
My next question is for Gary.
Gary, Roy's got a question
Another
for you.
question for you. Does this now, once this goes, if this were to go into effect, does this now put you under an MSHA as a site
When we're crushing,
when you're crushing?
yes.
Okay,
Well,
It depends on what we're crushing, if it's just.
concrete and blacktop and recycle, similar to what the village does, it doesn't fall under,
right, but if you extract and crush, you will become an MSHA site, correct?
Yeah, but just to confirm for everybody, American Asphalt did some drilling there a couple of years back, and down 45 feet, it's still sand and gravel. So we have no rock there that we have to worry.
And I should say for the public, right, MSHA, Mine Safety and Health Administration, which covers all mining properties. I just wanted to understand that because then they're required to do an inspection twice per year, minimum, by law, and that would include things like dust control. A number of things that are included in here if you are under MSHA.
Okay. Anything else? No?
No.
Joe, anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Trav, anything you'd like to add? Any comments?
The only comment I guess I'd like to share is having worked with Gary and Kurt before on some other projects, one specific project, but I had a situation where I had a catastrophic rainfall, and it wasn't anybody's fault. The silt fence broke, but Kurt came out on either Saturday or Sunday and brought me pumps and stuff like that, and helped help me out. So, at some point, you just got to trust that these professionals are going to do, the right thing, and they know the process of what's going to happen. Based on what I've heard, I think it's going to be a positive outcome for everybody out there. And I guess I just like to say that, based on my experience, I trust PGA and Kurt and Gary that, they're going to do the right thing to have a positive impact, within that area. So.
Thank you, Gary.
That's all I got.
Sorry, Trav. Thank you, Trav. All right, if nobody's got anything else, if someone would like to.
I just want to make one more thing. What conditions do you have, Jen?
So I had them listed, so it was kind of a little bit confusing because I basically mapped out all the performance standards. Yeah, so I mapped out all the performance standards for you so you could see what was there, and then I had those areas in red. And then some of that were on the performance standards do not come over to the conditional use permit because they're tied to that. So like the first few that you saw under the performance standards, I said they were covered underneath basically their civil plans and their stormwater pollution prevention plan. So if you want to go underneath the determination, so starting on page 95 is where I have those conditions listed.
Okay.
So number one ties as exhibit A is going to be their stormwater pollution prevention plan, which also includes their civil plan set and maps. It just states they have to provide all the state, county and federal licensing that they need. They do already have some from the state. They'll have to provide when the county gives their approval of their reclamation plan. They'll have to provide that documentation. 3 is the hours of operation. So based off of what I heard, I need to add something similar to Mitch's for crushing.
Yeah, so I had a note here that you'd want to keep it between 7 and 5 or 1700. And it should be Monday through Friday, no Saturdays or Sundays.
I don't know if I'm exactly on board with that. So when I say that, if we were talking about crushing, but actually hauling in and out of there, I wouldn't want to limit them from being able to operate on Saturdays.
So that would just be.
That would just be the crushing.
Crushing part.
Okay, well, I'm reading.
So
Item
the
3.
hours of operation would stay the same, but I would have that crushing would be Monday through Friday, 7 to 5.
Okay.
We
all right.
could go as
That-
far,
okay.
so when Gary was in for his other one on the other side of this, that they ended up not doing. There was crushing that was gonna be done there. And let's see, what was put on that side? They were gonna have some blasting there though, I think. Whoops. So there was a tie to days of operation shall be Monday through Saturday, as stated in the applicant's operational plan, unless written approval is received from the zoning administrator, which will not be unreasonably withheld. Any request for modification of the operational hours for more than 12 working days at a time shall be taken to the plan commission at their next available meeting for consideration and action. So that's how you guys handled that the last time. But their crushing was a little different there.
Yeah, this is gonna be pretty simple, I think,
Yeah.
so I like number 3, the way you have it written with just adding a limitation on the crushing then.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Is that,
Yep.
okay?
And then I'm just reading ahead here, 4, 5, 6, I don't know if anybody else did, but those look good. 10, you have an on-site bulk fuel storage areas. Can we just make 10, can we make it a condition that we aren't gonna store fuel on site?
We have.
In a permanent type of a thing, I think you'd want to see it. I mean,
And we're not gonna put a permanent install fuel tank, all fuel tank
it
there.
would be on like a trailer, they'd have it.
That'll keep getting refilled, and then when they're done at the end of the day,
Okay,
they.
I
fill it
gotcha.
back off.
Then I'm fine with that. I guess as it's written, I think that covers that, correct? Jen?
Yeah.
Item 12, we talked about the fence.
Yeah, 12 would be removed.
Yep, I'm fine with just a security gate.
And then I don't know if we want to put an expiration date on it. None of us will be here. In 30 years, I don't plan to be here. But I can put that.
I would be okay with putting an expiration date on 30 years out. Then it's at least gotta be revisited at that point in time.
Yeah,
so-
because at that point in time, you could have residential development and things change.
Right, think that area of the village is gonna look very different 30 years from now.
Yeah.
Steve will probably be here yet.
I will be, hopefully.
I'll be here.
Well, I hope I still.
So-
So what is the county's, what is the county's requirement on expiration date for what is the county's requirement for an expiration date as it relates to reclamation?
The reclamation permit runs with the life of the mine site, so there is no expiration on a reclamation permit.
All right,
Runs with the life of mine.
okay,
All right,
yeah, so if we put the 30-year expiration date on, I think that would be reasonable.
I will add that.
Just an FYI on that, the quicker you reclaim, the cheaper your permit is. So.
so, and I'm reading too, we can't actually approve this tonight because you have to get this draft CUP written up, correct? You have that, I'm looking at page 97.
Well, it's up to you. I mean, I'm just gonna, I can bring it back, yes,
Well,
if you wanna see it.
can we ask her to make the revisions as we listed tonight for the board of trustees meeting next week?
It's gotta go to the board, right?
No, that's a conditional use doesn't go to the board.
Oh, okay.
I'm okay with approval if they implement it as we, as we set it forth.
We can execute it, and if anything, I'll just put it as an FYI in the next packet.
Yeah.
I can do that. just in
Everything's-
case there's something, I'll
Everything's
just hold
recorded,
off
so-
on actually recording it, but we can have you sign it on Monday or whatever.
Okay,
And at least they can get started.
all right, well, we still have to go through the,
Yes, the determination.
yeah, what page are we at on for that?
98.
94.
I just have to read the 4 questions or 5 questions.
Oh, those are the ones they answered. The blank ones are, well, yeah, you can use that. So all the applicants actually answer those questions
Okay.
each time, but you guys are also supposed to supply the
Mhm.
written findings, so I guess you can use theirs.
I'll use the ones on 94. We've got 5 of them. the same
Yeah,
ones
so that
that's the last.
determination, so that whole document I will adjust, and that's what actually gets put as the written record from your hearing today.
Yeah, Gary, you have something quick to add?
I just want to make a clarification so everybody knows in the crowd as well that we didn't go start this project. The project that's started there right now is that's part of integrity grading in Weston Avenue. Just so people don't think we started this premeditated or something that we're gonna get some sort of approval. That's completely, on that map is Dustin did a completely different section for the roadway project, for that to be filled in. So that has nothing to do with what we're coming in here for tonight. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Gary. All right, so we'll go through the determination. Number one, is the proposed conditional use consistent with the comprehensive plan, this chapter and all other plans, programs and ordinances adopted by the village?
Yes.
Number two, the proposed conditional use in its proposed location and as depicted on the required site plan will not result in a substantial or undue adverse impact on nearby property, character of the neighborhood, environmental factors, traffic factors, parking, public improvements, public property or rights of way, or other matters affecting the public health, safety, or general welfare, either as they now exist or as they may in the future be developed as a result of the implementation of the provisions of this chapter, the comprehensive plan, or all other plans, programs, and ordinances adopted by the village.
Yes.
Yes.
Does the proposed conditional use maintain the desired consistency of land uses, land use intensities, and land use impacts as related to parcels adjacent to the subject property?
Yes.
Yes.
Trav?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Just want to make sure we get them all, because we've only got 4 of us here right now, so. Number 4 is the proposed conditional use located in an area that will be adequately served by and will not impose an undue burden on any of the improvements, facilities, utilities, or services provided by public agencies serving the subject property.
Yes.
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 Do the potential public benefits of the proposed conditional use outweigh potential adverse impacts of the proposed conditional use after taking into consideration the applicant's proposal and any requirements recommended by the applicant to ameliorate such impacts?
Yes.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll take a shot at it. I'd like to approve the conditional use permit at 7795 Weston Avenue with the following conditions as outlined with staff, amending item 3. What else did we hit?
Let's see.
Removing 12.
12, yeah, removing 12.
Well, you did want the access gate, right?
Yeah. You would agree to that.
Okay.
And the modified hours for crushing.
Include modifying the hours of operation when it involves crushing. And that the on-site fuel storage will be temporary equipment.
Second.
So we have a motion by Jordan, seconded by Mumper. Man, I had a brain fart there for a second. On the question.
That 30-year.
Oh, do you want that in the motion? Do we need to amend that?
You're okay, adding it in the second is okay.
I'm okay.
Adding a 30-year expiration date on
I'm
the
okay with that.
conditional use permit.
All right, anything further on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, item number 13. April 2025 staff approved certified survey maps and site plans. What's your pleasure? So we have a motion to acknowledge by Mumford,
I'll second.
second by Jordan. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
So carried. And Secretary Parker, if you could note that Mr. Gurn has retaken his seat. Item number 14, April 2025 building permits.
Move to acknowledge.
Second.
Motion to acknowledge by Jordan, second by Mumper. On the question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I assume that was a yay. Trav?
Correct, yes.
Just a little delayed. All right. Motion carries. Item number 15, Planning and Development Department Project Update Report.
So I have a report in the packet. The only thing I wanted to touch on, and I don't know if you can click on it and it'll come up, but, so I've been working with the RPC to, basically make it a little bit easier on staff each year to, meet the requirements of the housing affordability and all that we have to report on our website every year. So, they did help with a document that I will be bringing to you guys just as an FYI next month. But they also helped create this storyboard that we're gonna use and expand off of. So basically what it does is it'll get placed on the website and it's kind of an interactive map. So going forward, it's gonna show, right now, this is just showing housing, but Michael and I are gonna add some of the like commercial development and we can even do road projects and things like that. But so residents can, or other people can actually click right on and we can put information in about these different developments that are out there. The state right now is very, there's a big push for housing. We're seeing a lot of, like Roman and Travis are very busy right now. We're seeing record numbers of new homes for this year already. What are you at, 45 or something?
47 came through last night. We had 48 all of last year.
Yeah.
So
So we're in mid-May.
Jen, does this have anything to do with, is this similar to what they did a few years back when we had that, when they came?
Yeah, so every year we have to keep this up. So if she clicks on housing permits issued and lots created, down at the bottom, there's little tabs.
Thank you.
So we have to keep track of all this every year, place it out on the website so that people can kind of come and look at it. It's part of, I can't remember if it's a 2018, but back when they had what was it, the landowners bill of rights or homeowners?
I think that
bill?
was 18 if I remember correctly.
2018, they put in some of this housing requirements and these postings. So we went through and did that affordability study. And as part of that, you have to put out there how many lots that you're creating every year. And also the number of permits issued. So the little counter on the right-hand side
It's
is,
telling us that there's a demand of 775 right now?
yeah, by 2025, that's what it was supposed to be when they did the original study. So what they're seeing is, I mean, the demand is higher, but the population is going down. So you've got people who are having smaller families or they're living, they're not getting married, they're living singly. So there's a need for more housing units in the whole Marathon County, but the population numbers are going down. Is what they were seeing.
Less people live in more houses.
Yes. So there is a big demand.
Interesting.
So have we gotten anywhere, Jen, with that affordable housing? Have you guys gotten any further with that at all?
No, Jamie and Jess are gonna be working on.
Was there some state funding or something involved?
It's with the TID and the closure of the TID, there can be a portion of that that's put into affordable housing. But it has to be an agreement with the board and a separate resolution with the board to accept and allow that. And it would be done at the time when TID closure would occur.
So Synergy is actually working, so that's the regional, kind of the regional economic development group. They were working on that with the RPC. They did kind of their own housing study and they're actually working on creating, she's doing a lot of lobbying at the state level for some of the extra funds, budgetary funds to create kind of a, I don't know if it's going to be a grant or a loan program that can assist with affordable housing with the developers.
Is that considered workforce development housing?
The way that it's,
Affordable housing?
if it would go through the the piece with the TIF, affordable housing is defined as 30% of the income of the individual that would be purchasing the housing. So if it would have to be 30% or less of their income is spent on that housing unit is considered affordable. Angel and Synergy, I don't know if they've put parameters around what that either revolving loan fund or program would look like. It would be based off affordable housing, but what their parameter is yet to be totally determined.
So have you gotten, I know the state's really working on this workforce development housing, that there's grants and monies
There
available.
was, but not a lot. So the things that I've been going to, it doesn't work for a lot of the communities up here. So there weren't a lot of projects being put in, so they were making some changes to it.
Well, and I realized that even one of the ones that we did some work with, that was involved around the state, they kind of went belly up with that division. They still like developing new ones, and I don't know if that was because of lack of funding from the state. But I know that that seems to be the hot button at the state is workforce development housing. They're trying to make that more affordable to attract people to help the manufacturing or help, create housing for people to move to areas to bring more employees or attract people to come. Have the affordability of the homes. So I didn't know if that was something, because I probably called you 3-4 times on a couple of pieces from this lady that wants to do something, but
they're kind of looking at all different pieces. They're looking at zoning. I mean, we're further along with our zoning code because of the updates that we made than a lot of other communities where they don't have. Some of the stuff is still archaic on it.
And the reason why I'm not trying to be persistent, please, I'm not trying to drag this meeting on, is because I think we just need to get in front of some of the developers. Once we know the parameters, then we should hurry up and get out there to get them around here to take advantage of that. Is Wausau, are they following? They're right along with it as well?
Yeah, but they have some projects within the downtown and the Kobe and Kobe project that they're undertaking, so they're.
Yeah, they've got some pretty big affordable housing projects that they're.
So and we're doing that Kobe project, but I didn't, Raleigh and Kobe, but is that workforce development?
I think they did because it's Colby and Kobe. I think they got money towards it.
From the state then?
Yeah.
Okay, so Wausau's involved in it then?
I think, yeah. I mean, we'll probably hear tomorrow from Randy more on it.
But in the sense that they've been part of the permitting and layout of process, yes. I don't know if they've been a financial contributor, but as part of the process, yes.
Yeah, and the other, I'll just ask one more, the other thing was, I was working with Raleigh on another site, another project, because he's involved in the one for Kobe. Was some areas over here in Weston with that, but he kind of didn't really say too much about it. He didn't say he knew a lot about it, which was odd that he wouldn't have, but maybe he's keeping it under tight reins. Who knows? I just think it would be a nice thing for our community if we could keep some workforce and get some workforce funding or something from the state to help, because we know there is no such thing as affordable housing. Joe, you know that. And I mean, the cost of materials are ridiculous right now. And it just, there is no way to get a starter apartment or a person coming out of college to rent at $1,600. It's a lot of money, so in order to, you got to subsidize some of that stuff to get it down to that $1,000 or $1,200. Somebody says find rent for $1,000 to $1,200. It's like, that's sad. But anyway, sorry.
I have a quick question. What's going on next to Aspires in Weston?
Their parking lot.
Are they just expanding their parking?
Yeah, it was
Exciting
approved
stuff.
last year.
Say that again?
Exciting stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping it'd be
retaining wall in
something
there
more
too?
exciting, but.
No,
The
so
retaining
that
wall's
was,
existing.
yeah, that was the last year project. They got it approved last year and then didn't do anything with it until this year.
I'm just curious. I saw the excavators out there and I had to ask.
It's just an expansion of their parking lot.
Anybody else have anything? Do you need an acknowledgement on this?
Sure.
Move to acknowledge.
Second.
Motion by Mumper, second by Jordan on the question. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So carried. Announcements and committee commissioner remarks. Trav, you have anything you'd like to add?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gurnt,
No, thank you. I'm good.
nothing from you, Mr. Mumper, Mr. Jordan? All right, I have nothing to add. Item number 17, next regular meeting date, Monday, June 9th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Future agenda items or staff referrals, anything from anybody on that?
Well, just that, I think we just talked about, but that's more ETZ, right? For the,
It'll be for both.
for both.
It'll come, yeah, so they'll be back. Anything we propose for the village will go to the
That
ETC.
should be a future agenda item. So.
Yeah, it'll come back. I can't even remember what we have them talking about looking into a few different things for us.
Okay.
I do have one comment.
Yep.
You do a great job at what you do.
Oh,
I'm just being honest.
thank you. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. And Jamie's opening up, which is nice. He's getting more vocal.
We got a little off there, but I felt like the way that it happened was good for everybody involved. So,
I do too. I think it was, and staff always does a great job. I really appreciate everybody's efforts. I just want to say that because I think we go at it every day and sometimes all we hear is negative things and sometimes it's nice to hear positive stuff too.
Yeah, I would echo that comment. I think it's when neighbors can get along, you don't need the government involved. Right. Yeah.
They talk to each other, so.
Yeah, I thought that worked out well.
all right, hearing nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mumper, second by Jordan on the question. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So carried. We are adjourned at 7:53 p.m.
It's slow on the